Welcome to Lot 76 Cars. My name's Simon and today I'm driving the Fiat 500S. The original Fiat 500 replaced the Topolino Fiat, which was incredibly successful, and the Nuovo 500 or Cinquecento was launched in 1957 and had quite a long shelf life. It went right the way through to 1975. Now, in 2004 at the Geneva Motor Show, Fiat surprised everybody with the so-called Trepi Uno concept car, which was basically an indication of what the new Fiat 500 would look like. Now, the response to the Trepi Uno was in fact so good that Frank Stevenson and his team at Fiat Design were able to translate the design with very, very small changes. So on the Trepi Uno, the central exhaust, the smoke rear lights, and I think there were some changes with the door handles, and honestly, that was about it. The Fiat 500 is about as close to a concept car as I think we've ever seen. So whereas the original car was powered by a rear engine 479cc engine, rear drive, it was sold as a saloon, it was sold as a convertible and even a Giardiniera estate, the new vehicle was a front-wheel drive car. It is a front-wheel drive car, and it's based on the Fiat Mini platform. Now, the Fiat Mini platform actually is also shared by the second generation Panda, and also, for those of you remember it, the Lancia Epsilon, which I don't think we took within the UK. So fast forward these 30 years, Frank Stevenson's design came at just the right time for Fiat. Fiat were losing money, hadn't really had a hit since the Panda, and desperately needed a new small car. An area that Fiat excelled is small cars, and the Fiat 500 filled that gap. Now, the success they had with this car from the off cannot be underestimated. They were actually sitting on 35,000 advance orders at the launch of this car, following the reveal in 2007. The date is significant because in actual fact that was the 50th anniversary of the first Fiat 500 being launched, the Nuovo 500. So really special occasion for Fiat, and the car really landed well for Fiat. Now, whilst the design was pretty much translated from the concept car, the one area the team did have a challenge was the rear spoiler. Now, Frank Stevenson and his team wanted to take away the rear spoiler for a clean look, but the difference it made to the coefficient of drag was the telling factor. It brought it from 0.4 to 0.32, so that's why the spoiler, and I'll cut in some pictures of it in the video, actually became part of the final design of the car. So what's this Fiat 500 like to drive? Well, you'll probably see from the roundabout I'm going through that the steering's really light. There is actually also a city mode on the steering as well, so you can lighten the steering. I'll sort of cut in some images of that. Probably best left for parking, but out on the road, the steering's not too light. It's got great feel, and in actual fact, the car's dimensions make it much easier to thread the car through traffic and along country roads. In fact, believe it or not, this car is smaller than the R53 Mini, and it's also smaller than the subsequently launched VW Up. Who would have thought that, eh? So this car's powered by the 1242cc fire engine, fully integrated robotized engine, and that owes its roots right back to the 1980s, I think, in the original Panda and probably even the Uno. Now, while 68 brake horsepower doesn't seem a lot, what you've got to remember is this particular car weighs just, in this format, 865 kilos. That's absolutely nothing, is it? Now, what Fiat also managed to do is to engineer a car that was very safe. So in the pre-2009 NCAP, New Car Assessment Program tests, the car actually scored a full 5 stars and was rated very highly on passenger protection. It's got things like knee airbags as well as driver and passenger airbags included in the car. So it's a very safe proposition despite its size and despite its weight. Inside the car too, the good news doesn't stop then. In fact, the car's a work of art. That central dial with the RPM inside the speedo, and the styling features of the dash itself, body colour coding on some of the models, actually makes it a real joy to get inside. The seating position, as you may be able to tell, seating position is high as you would expect, but not uncomfortably high, and you can still lower the seat to an acceptable position. My position's relatively low compared to some people's, but it's still comfortable. The seats on this S model are actually quite hugging. They hold you in quite well, and certainly in terms of cornering, you'll find no issues about sliding in them, certainly. So in terms of handling, we might not be in R53 Mini territory, but we're not far behind. The ride quality is particularly good. If we talk about that first of all, we're on some pretty rough roads here in the area where I'm testing the car, but to be honest with you, the car's just soaking them up. Hopefully it's not bouncing around too much on the camera for you. In terms of the driving position, as I mentioned before, it's a really good driving position. There is some adjustability with the steering. The steering wheel feels nice and thick in the hand. And having driven an R53 Mini, I don't think we're so far off the mark in terms of handling itself. Unlike Fiats of the past, the build quality has stood the test of time. This car's a 2013 car and it's held together pretty well. The controls feel pretty chunky and not brittle, and you can see that the clunk, or hear the clunk with which the door closes, tells us that in actual fact it is a quality motor car. So as well as the quality of the interior, let's talk about the space. The rear roof line does take off a little bit of headroom, but to be honest with you, I don't think it's much worse than a contemporary R53 or later Mini. And I think, to be honest with you, that's something that wouldn't put you off buying one of these. So one of the other benefits of lightweight and relatively low horsepower, in this case, as I mentioned, 68, is fuel economy. I think the official figures range from about 47 to the early 50s. Owners report that you can easily get 47 mpg with this vehicle, which makes it a relatively good proposition day to day. Road fronts license costs in the UK are relatively low, and I'll put those on screen as well at the current levels. So as it picks up here, tell me this is 68 horsepower, because it doesn't feel like it. We're pretty much going along at the national speed limit now. We got there quite quickly. We're maintaining it. The 5-speed gearbox the car has feels really chunky, and having that gear lever higher up does make the gear change, satisfyingly quick. Certainly doesn't feel remote, and I've been quite impressed. I heard that some of the early cars did have some issues with the gearboxes, but certainly in this car I have absolutely no complaints about how it drives. I like this car a lot. So we've got a twisty uphill section on this road. So let's put this 1242cc engine to the test in second gear, and as we're climbing, no problems at all. It's got enough torque to get us up there, and quite honestly, through the twisties, it's an absolute joy. So as well as being a fun small car, there are an absolutely huge range of personalisation options available to customers. Sticker packs, I mean, the Italian theme of this car, and we'll talk about that in a second, are available, and I guess the range of customisation had not been seen by manufacturers, maybe apart from Mini up until this point. So we'll cut in some shots of this car, because this one's got some really great personalisation shots. But I'm going to talk now to the owner, Nathan, who's a bit camera shy, but no problems there. We're going to cut in some shots of the car. So he's going to tell us about why he selected this car and what he's done to customise it so far. So let's hand over to him and we'll do a walk around of the car at the same time. So, tell us about why you selected a Fiat 500.
Well,
because that's a left field choice, is it?
No,
No?
no. You see plenty of learners with Fiat 500s. So
Okay.
it was a very small car. I felt more comfortable in a smaller car, and yeah, it felt very nimble.
And was it the styling that attracted you to the car first of all, or was that secondary?
That was secondary. It was more the size that attracted me to the car. Because I learned to drive in my learner's car, well, my teacher's car,
Right.
a much larger car, and I didn't feel as comfortable doing it, so I decided I want a smaller car.
Okay, I understand that. And tell us about the things that you've done to this. I mean, visually the car's got a great theme, and obviously we've got the shots that we'll cut in. So what have you done to make it really yours?
Well, I've got the base Fiat stickers down the side and on the roof. They're
Okay.
Fiat brand, and I've got my own stickers at the back. Put them on personally, so they might be a bit wonky, but
Okay, but they're yours. That's the main
And then
thing.
you've got the green wheels,
Right.
which is a bit of a standout thing. It kind of grows on you, that one, but yeah, and the gearbox as well.
Any plans for the car? What you plan to do next?
No plans at the minute. No, I've done everything I wanted to the car, so.
Fabulous. Well, thank you for letting us drive the car. We appreciate that one. Thank you. So what has my Fiat 500 experience been like? Well, it's been great in actual fact, and I can see why people buy these as Abarths. I mean, this car with 68 brake horsepower is pretty entertaining. I can only dream what it will be like with 180 horsepower, 140 in an Abarth version. The styling that Fiat came up with in the time, Frank Stevenson's team came up with an absolutely fabulous interpretation to make the car modern, safe and usable on today's roads, but still true to the Trepi Uno concept and true to the Nuvo 500, the original 1957 car, albeit it's front-wheel drive and front engine this time round. So would a Fiat 500 make a good car for you and yours in 2023? Well, I'd have probably found this video difficult to make from a Fiat of maybe 30 or 40 years ago, but quite honestly, this car really raised the bar so far as Fiat Group were concerned. It probably saved the company, and you can see now the important position that the 500 brand has within Fiat, how the 500 brand's been extended to other products and larger vehicles within their range as well. So thanks again for watching Lot 76 Cars and this review of the Fiat 500S. Please like, share, subscribe, turn on notifications so as not to miss my next video. And once again, thanks for watching.